Good afternoon, people. I hope you can hear me alright. Not too much of a breeze at the moment, but I'm having sound issues with my camera, so hopefully this won't all be in vain. So yeah, today I wanted to talk to you about anxiety and mental health in general, and specifically my experience of it. I am a Time to Change champion. Time to Change is an organisation that helps to promote mental health issues and try and reduce the stigma around it. So something that I'm very passionate about anyway, because of my own experiences and because of experiences that loved ones of mine have had. So, where to begin? I've suffered with depression on and off probably since my late teens, so getting on for 20 years now. And certain events throughout my teens led me to have a very, very low self-esteem and low self-worth. And I think there was lots of other things going on in there as well, but consequently that led me to suffer with depression quite a lot through my 20s. Very much, I'm pleased to say at that time I don't think I was ever suicidal, but I will say there are times where I felt that if I didn't wake up the following morning I wouldn't have been bothered. There was just nothing I felt that was, there was nothing about me that I felt that was worth carrying on. It's been on for years. It affected my view of myself, my view of my self-worth, my relationships with other people. So I think by my mid to late 20s, off the back of visiting the GP about something completely unrelated, and me totally breaking down from the surgery into a blubbering wreck for no apparent reason, the GP told me that she thought I might have been experiencing some depression and recommended me to go for some counselling. And whilst we by no means fixed me, it gave me tools enough to be able to take myself forward, think about myself a bit differently, make positive decisions about the relationships that I had in my life and the people that I needed in my life. And okay, it hasn't all been shits and giggles since then, but it gave me enough to be able to work with and to start putting my life on track and living my life for me. 2015 was what's affectionately known as the year of death in our household. Lost good friends, family members, other family members next to death's door. Basically, I'd had a couple of weeks off work, compassionate leave, to deal with a family incident. I was due to go back to work, and my tummy, which with the Crohn seems to be the gauge of how stressed I am, you know, any bit of stress, it goes to there first. And I'd been in the bathroom all morning and I just could not face getting out of the door. I tried to get ready for work, and I assumed at that point I was having a bit of a Crohn's flare. So I rang in sick, sat on my bed and just sobbed. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I felt fidgety, like all my skin, I didn't want to be in my skin. I was really uncomfortable. And it's really, it's a feeling you can't really put your fingers on, you can't give words to. I don't know, I didn't really know what was happening to me at that point. I did at least have the good sense to recognise that something was wrong, so I rang the doctors for an appointment. But it took everything I had to be able to force myself out of the door and into the doctor's surgery. I just felt scared for no reason. Scared that something bad was going to happen, but I couldn't put my finger on what the bad thing was going to be. So, yeah, explained to the doctor what was going on, and she said, because of these major life events that I've been experiencing, I was having a stress reaction. It's basically, in common terms, a bit of a meltdown, really. It's anxiety, that's what it was. It was anxiety, and that was my first real experience of it. And I would say it differs from just feeling a bit anxious, and that's not a nice feeling, I'm not belittling that. But it's a bit different to, say, the nerves you might get if you're about to go into a job interview, or you're about to run a race. It's different to that excited nervousness. It's, for me at least, was all consuming. It made me scared of absolutely everything. She gave me, the doctor she gave me beta blockers, which I think are actually for blood pressure, heart conditions anyway. It's meant to slow your pulse and lower your blood pressure. But what it also does for anxiety is it stops the adrenaline that's pumping through your system from affecting your organs. So it doesn't stop the stress, and it doesn't minimise the amount of adrenaline that's going through your system, but it stops it affecting your organs a bit, so you feel the effects of the anxiety a bit less. And the funny thing was, I then was scared to take these. They were for my anxiety, and they gave me anxiety. They made my anxiety worse. I took them, and they did get me through the next couple of weeks, but I was very anxious to even take them. And for the next couple of weeks, frankly, I wasn't even able to get out of my front door. I didn't know what had happened to me. I was suddenly this shell of a person. Despite all the stuff that I'd experienced growing up and through my 20s, I'd managed to at least be a confident, outgoing person, and suddenly I was scared to even look at myself in the mirror. And I think what it basically is you're stuck in this fight or flight response. You know, it's your body's natural way of defending you from a tiger when you're in the savannah. You know, it gets you ready to run or fight or freeze. There's three, and I was stuck in freeze. I don't know what I was scared of, but I was scared of something. Your brain suddenly comes up with every single possible scenario of what could go wrong. You're basically paralysed. I would have moments sitting at home just eating my dinner where suddenly I'd be overcome with feeling suffocated. I couldn't breathe. I think at one point I'd rocked up to A&E thinking that I was having angina or a heart attack or something, and it was just a panic attack. I can't honestly say how powerful it is when your mind has decided that there's catastrophe around every single corner. Before I came to a grinding halt, I had started to discover how important running was for my stress levels, because I knew before that I was really stressed out with everything that was going on, and running became my release. So I think even at that early point I knew how effective exercise could be for running, for anxiety and just stress in general. When I really hit the wall, I just wasn't able to get enough calories in me. I was losing weight hand over fist, and this is healthy weight I'd just been putting on for the first time really in 15-20 years since my Crohn's diagnosis, and I was just shedding it. It was scary. So yeah, I really missed my running. I really wanted to go running, but between the beta blockers and the inability to eat anything, I just didn't have the energy. I had actually by that point tracked down the counsellor that I'd been working with all those years before. I made contact with him and started having some more sessions with him again. And the main bulk of our work was in relation to mindfulness. And you may have heard this term by now, because it's one of these real buzzwords that's just become really popular in the last year or two. But it's not a fad. It's not an airy fairy, let's get in touch with our feelings type thing. The central core of it is about getting in touch with your body and the present moment, because we spend so much time living in the past or living in the future. The present just passes us by and we don't even notice it. And that's the problem with anxiety and depression, is that you're constantly replaying things that have happened or playing over things that might happen to forget what is actually happening. And for me, a lot of my anxiety was based around not being able to do something, being scared that something might happen. And so I started working through this book. The title escapes me now. I think it's something like Finding Peace in a Frantic World, and I've forgotten the authors. I'll put the details in the video and in the link below. And basically it's based on a formal course that was developed, and they've done a lot of research in delivering this course to people with mental health issues, and have found that it can lessen the effects of mental health issues and actually prevent them, or if they do resurface, they don't have quite such a hold. And so I worked my way through. It's a structured book. There's a bit of reading to do, and then you have this CD with these guided meditations on, and it gives you tools to be able to manage the problems when they happen. That saved me. I can honestly hand on heart say that saved me from going down a really slippery path, because once that anxiety got hold of me, the depression kicked in. I was annoyed and angry at myself for not being able to do the simple things that I could do before, like just leaving the house on my own. So it's been a long, long road. I found other things since then, books that I can recommend. Two in particular by Ruby Wax. And obviously it's put in a way that only Ruby Wax can do, and is incredibly humorous and funny and satirical, but really poignant and powerful as well. So again, I know one is called, or I think one is called Taming the Mind, and the other one I can't remember what it's called, but I'll put the details below. I certainly encourage those as a good read. But there are several apps out there as well that you can get on your phone. The one I'm currently using is an app called Bhuddify. And I think it's £2 or £3 to buy. You get 95% of the meditations as part of the package, and it just helps to get you into the habit of practicing mindfulness every day, because it's not something that you just do when you're struggling. It's a preventative tool. You know, you guys out there who are running and cycling and swimming and whatnot, you don't just stretch when you get an injury, you stretch to prevent injuries, don't you? And it's the same with the mind. If we don't exercise our minds and look after our minds, especially in today's world where we are flying around from one thing to the next, planning this, doing that, got to be there, got to do that, you know, there's no wonder we all end up with anxiety and mental health issues, really. So yeah, I don't really think I've done it justice, my experience of mental health. I did write a blog for National Time to Talk Day, which was the 1st of February this year, and again I'll put a link to that blog below, because I think that probably explains my experience in more detail. So, as I say, the mindfulness practice has been a real key thing, and the apps, making use of the apps. But exercise, I was able to start running again and actually get my training back to a point where I could do my first 5k in the October of that year. At that point I hadn't started cycling. I had bought my bike, but because of the anxiety I didn't get on it. I was too scared about what might happen. I would be almost frozen with fear cycling on the road, and it took me months and months to get my confidence up cycling on the road and to feel confident about being part of the traffic. I mean, 10 miles was a massive achievement for me, just to get out, you know, and I would be anxious the whole time, and I have to admit, I mean, to begin with I didn't really enjoy it. So come 2017, so last year then, I've been getting my confidence up on the bike throughout the winter. That was the year we started doing a few sportifs, and I think since then, you know, with that and the swimming and things, I've come to realise that exercise is so important for mental health. I think for me over the last couple of years, it's not like the anxiety has gone away, it's never gone away. I think once it gets you like that, it changes you fundamentally in ways that you couldn't even imagine. And it's always there. But I think you just become better at managing it and better at living with it and adjusting and adapting. But for me, a lot of this year I think has been putting myself back together again and putting myself into situations actually where I do feel anxious, because the best remedy for me, I find, is doing it, putting yourself out there, doing the thing that makes you anxious. And then once you've done it, you realise you've done it, and then you realise actually there was no need of feeling anxious. Yeah, mindfulness and exercise, that's for me the way to go. If you have your own stories to tell, please do comment below on how you manage your own mental health issues. And I think probably the parting comment that I would say from me is, I think the more and more of us that talk and share our stories and come out about this stuff, the more we'll realise actually, you know what, most people are affected by mental health in some way. And certainly if you're not, then I am confident that you'll know someone who is. You've probably stood next to someone on the bus today, or sat next to someone at work today who are affected by mental health issues. So, you know, be kind to each other. You never know what someone else is going through. Look out for one another. Ask people how they're doing. You never know. that might be the one thing that that person needs to be able to open up and share their story. And if you're affected by mental health and you're worried about what to do, go and see a GP, please. They won't judge you, and they'll direct you to the help that you need. But the main thing is, don't bottle it up. It won't go away. You need to do something about it. And if you're currently not being affected by mental health issues, check out the mindfulness stuff anyway. If it can prevent you from having issues in the future, then, you know, why not? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.